This is a situation here where Kari Lake has been led in the last 2 weeks to suggest that there are, quote, irregularities and fraud. This is essentially echoing what Donald Trump did ahead of the 2020 election, in which he and her now would throw out this idea that there was fraud. So when it comes to election night, which will be later today, and if, in fact, Karen Taylor Robson is competitive in this or either leading, you know, one could make the case that they were sounding the alarm bells ahead of polls closing. The issue for Kari Lake is that she has refused to identify any single specific allegation. And that is where last night I tried repeatedly, as you're about to see, to ask her to provide any evidence of fraud. Well, she's unwilling to do so. Take a look.
Your Honor, contending that there's irregularities and there is fraud in this election, at what point does Kari Lake stop and say, am I undermining Americans' faith in our elections?
Kari Lake is going to help bring back honest elections to America.
But you haven't even laid out any fraud or irregularities.
About destroying America.
But what fraud is there, Kari? What fraud is there? This is serious.
You want to make this about you?
No, this is about Arizona voters and their faith in this election.
The last person on this planet Earth I would tell about what rapist numbers is you and MSDNC.
So you know about a crime, and yet you're not reporting it to authorities.
And I'm not telling you about
When are you going to report it to authorities?
and you are against America.
Is it not until you lose tomorrow night when you start to lay out? Why not provide that evidence?
When we talk about faith in American elections, Jose, it goes beyond the 2020 presidential election. Kari Lake just laid it out there, contending that she knows about fraud, yet is unwilling to say what or report it to authorities here. And that is why tonight the election may go well beyond into the wee hours of the morning, if not days and if weeks. And we could very well have a Republican candidate, if she is not the outright winner herself, who is contesting the legitimacy of not a general election against a Democrat, but one against a Republican opponent in a primary.
Vaughn, I couldn't really hear what she was kind of saying, but the bottom line is that she had no concrete evidence or information she could point to.
And she told me that I would not be the person who she would tell, which is why I followed up with the question, well, then why not go to authorities if you were aware of irregularities and fraud? And that is where she said, I think had no response, actually, is a better way to put it, instead of saying that I'm trying to destroy America, which in this wing of the Republican Party here today, that's an easy go-to when you don't have a legitimate answer to offer yourself.
Vaughn Hilliard in Paradise Valley, Arizona. I thank you for that. Joining me now with a suit and tie, NBC News senior national political reporter Mark Caputo. Mark, it's good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Good to see you. How are you?
Thanks. So let's talk a little bit about the Vaughn Hilliard encounter. That you didn't really have to hear exactly what the words were used, but there was a clear indication that she really didn't have anything concrete to go on. But she continues to repeat that mantra, which is somewhat popular with some.
It's not just somewhat popular. It's an article of faith in the Republican Party, thanks to Donald Trump. I mean, it's 2022. This has been going on since November of 2020. And, you know, a firm called Cyber Ninjas, whoever the hell they are, from Florida, was hired by Arizona out of the blue to do some kind of conspiratorial ballot review to find fraud. They didn't find any. They claim they found like 270 dead voters who voted. Well, the Republican Attorney General, Mark Brnovich, in Arizona, reviewed all those claims. He's like, no, I found one. So there's basically a Russian nesting doll of deceit and false claims, where you open up one doll, you're like, okay, what's inside of here? Oh, it's another claim because that one's not there. And then you open up that one, and it's just doll after doll after doll, false claim after false claim after false claim. And Kari Lake is a good example of that. You know, I was a reporter in Arizona for a while. I have family who live there. It's kind of fascinating to see a TV figure such as her, a longtime TV figure, one who, from what we understand in the Republican primary, it's been disclosed, supported Barack Obama, is now full MAGA. So she's certainly changed her spots.
Matryoshkas of mentiras, of lies, is a way to...
Welcome to Miami.
That's right. So Mark, what are you looking at? Because it seems as though, you know, this Kansas vote is really kind of important, right? Yep. I mean, it's certainly the first one since Roe v. Wade was set back by the Supreme Court. Arizona, but Kelly, for example, he shouldn't have a problem.
In the primary, no. In the general,
No, in the primary, no.
Yeah, but in the general election, most of the polling that I've seen, both private and public, usually doesn't have Mark Kelly above 50 in a general election. That could be a trouble sign. So Blake Masters is probably favored to win the Republican primary for Senate. That's going to be the likely matchup. But there has been a shift in the mood of the electorate to be a little more Republican, especially with Latino voters, Hispanic voters. A lot of them in Arizona, a quarter of the electorate. Yeah. So it's something to pay attention to.
And let's talk about Missouri. Trump endorsing Eric.
Eric, correct. That's a great example. The disgraced former governor, Eric Greitens, he had a sex scandal. He allegedly blackmailed his mistress. Then his ex-wife, that's how you get an ex-wife, right, claimed that he beat her and their kid. He nevertheless has that kind of MAGA style that Trump likes, aside from those accusations. Mm-hmm. And in the end, what had happened there was Trump just couldn't endorse him. The people I've talked to who talked to Trump was just too disturbed by it. But he didn't really like Eric Schmidt, who's the Republican Attorney General there. He had two camps in Trump world. They were both lobbying so hard. Trump decided to troll his own people and say, yes, I endorse the Eric. Or the Erics in this case.
And so back to the governor's race in Arizona, is Kari Lake was, as you said, an anchor there for many, many years, has name recognition, et cetera. But how significant is this race for the Republicans?
Well, it's very significant. As you said in this intro, this is a test of Trump's power.
Right.
And Karen Hobson is the her opponent and the main opponent in the Republican primary. Mike Pence decided to endorse her, and so did the governor, Doug Ducey, whom Trump doesn't like because he didn't support Trump's false claims of the stolen election. And Trump has really kind of pushed this. And as you would kind of mention, Kari Lake is breaking ahead. So the Republican Party clearly in Arizona is saying this is where we want to go. This is the direction we want to go. So as far as the future of Trumpism in the Republican Party, he's still very much part of its DNA. So anyone who says that Donald Trump is over in the Republican Party, should look at what's going to happen in Arizona.
What do you say we coin matryoshkas of mentiras, you and I going forward?
I like it. We could sell it on Cayocho.
That's
we
right.
can make a lot of money.
On that.
Thank you.